Sure. Uh, so, hello. So today I will just talk about, because it's a Software Freedom Day. So I thought I will talk about how using open source in my career has helped me. So to be honest, uh, I also started from I think few years back. I was also just in your position. I was just trying to finish up my master's. I completed my undergrad, then I came to Canada for finishing up my master's. But for the last couple of years, I heavily contributed to different open source projects or worked with different open source community, which tremendously gave me a tremendous growth in my career. So today I will first talk about a little bit about the open source contributions, like what it is and why it's important. And next, actually, the talk will mostly focus about my journey, like how it helped me, how I started with very small things and gradually it opened new doors for me. So please ask me questions anytime. Uh, so let's get started. So first, let's just talk a little bit about what is open source software. So I think you already may have uh, some of you that open source software is basically like when the source code is available to public, where anyone, like any developer or user, anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance the code and change it to as per their needs. So you can basically change the code uh, in parts, bits and pieces where you think it's needed, or you can add a new feature to the already available source code. So this is basically the concept of open source software. So in the screen you can see like there are some examples of open source versus proprietary softwares. So open source are basically Linux, Java, Blender, Firefox. These are some good examples on as opposed to proprietary like Mac, iOS, Skype, iTunes, Windows, etc. So why OSS or open source softwares are getting popular these days? So if you don't know, so open source softwares are right now getting very high popularity, and it has been like this for quite a few years. And there are multiple reasons. So even like big companies or big research labs are heavily inclined towards making their codes open source. So there is a very high demand of that, and why we can let's talk about a bit on that. So open source softwares, first of all, it gives you more control than proprietary softwares because you already know the code. So you can definitely, if you're like a developer, you can modify, rewrite, or extend some pieces of the code as per your requirements. So that gives you like more control and flexibility than any using a proprietary software. Next, it has like the collaborative feature. So because the source code is always there for public to see, so it can be easily shared, reviewed, studied, maintained, and improved. You can basically see other people's open source code and learn a lot from their code. You can do like study their code. You can study how one feature is done by some other developer, and you can rewrite some of it on your own project. So this kind of collaborative thing is very useful. Also, it uh, enables very fast development. Now in open source code, there are like many developers who are like independently and willingly working to fix, update, and upgrade the software. So that's why it doesn't have to pass through like some authority in a sense, because you can always push your changes, and the maintainers with like it's up to the maintainer if they want to merge it or not. But still, it's very fast in terms of if you want to develop something in a proprietary software, because they have more regulations, more standards to follow. Also, it has more stability because it's like open source is already there for public. So there is very less chance of it to get disappear one day, or the end of support for open source software just stops because the developers don't want to continue. So it's very unlikely, as opposed to like proprietary softwares. If the company shuts down or the developers say they don't want to provide us support anymore, so the project is gone. So usually for long-term projects, open source software are a good deal for you. Also, the most important thing, I mean, no software or the platform is nothing if there is no community to use it. So a vibrant and active community is very important for any kind of software development. And in open source, it's very much visible that as compared to like proprietary softwares, because many people are interested in developing the code. They are investing their time and resources. So the community is usually more helpful and active. So they can basically, you can talk to the community who are basically part of producing, testing, promoting, and affecting the software. So these are some really good benefits over proprietary softwares. Now, why you should contribute to open source code? That's another important question. So first of all, I think I touched a little bit on this, that it drastically improves your coding skill. When you are working with other people, you first need to go through their code. You need to understand their code, talk to the developers in some cases. And when you are doing all these things, it basically drastically improves your coding skill. So from my personal experience, it improved my coding skill a lot when I started working with other people collaboratively. Also, it brings your recognition to the community. As I said, it's an active, vibrant community usually. So if you are performing well, if you're active in the community, people will immediately recognize you and they will come to you for with your questions. So it's very easy to get recognized in such communities. Also, when people come to you and talk to you, you create networking, and networking is really very important in your career, in your like, professional career, to move forward. When you have networking, you have better chances to get more opportunities. So from one open source, you can get opportunity to contribute in bigger open source projects, or like even like a job. The recruiter will be reaching out to you. So it has like networking opens more doors for you. Also, your profile stands out to the recruiters. As I said, obviously, when you show your high skills in contribution, it just shows like your passion about some softwares, your passion about coding in general. So your profile just stands out to the recruiter. And some added bonus there is, so it will expose you to the real world project development and challenges. So when we are, let's say, coding for our a pet project or our academic projects, they're pretty different than what you will face or see in your real life projects, because the data is more dirty. The software has more challenges, more regulations, more edge cases to consider. So that's why the real world projects are really usually more challenging and difficult to handle. But when you're working on a real on an open source project, it's already they are used by uh, probably millions of customers, the project you're working on, right? So it will also expose you to what type of challenges and what type of things you should consider while working on a real world project. It also
Okay, so we are waiting for the speaker to be joining us. Good night, she is waiting in the lobby.
I'm not the host right now.
Okay. Urban,
I have allowed them, like I am the host, like I have allowed them.
let them in. Hi, Zarreen.
Hi.
Okay, so today we have a third speaker for the day. Zarreen has a plethora of experience working as a data scientist. She's now employed at Thales Canada and has also worked as a research scientist at OpenMind. An alumni of Windsor University with various accolades like Nutix Hybrid Cloud Scholar and Leadership Fellow. She would be with us at SFD, sharing her experience and her skills that make her so good at what she does. Make sure that everyone interact with the guest, and as she is the authority in machine learning research. Hope you all stay tuned. Okay, so I'll now like to hand over the mic to Zarreen and can go forward with the talk.
Thanks, Archit. Thanks so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. So let me just share my screen first. Mhm. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, sure. Uh, hello. So today I will just talk about because it's a software freedom day. So I thought I will talk about how using open source in my career has helped me. So to be honest, uh, I also started from I think few years back. I was also just in your position. I was just trying to finish up my master's. I completed my undergrad, then I came to Canada for finishing up my master's. But for the last couple of years, uh, I heavily contributed to different open source projects or worked with different open source community, which tremendously gave me a tremendous growth in my career. So today I will first talk about a little bit about the open source contributions, like what it is and why it's important. And next, actually, the talk will mostly focus about my journey, like how it helped me, how I started with very small things and gradually it opened new doors for me. So please ask me questions anytime. Uh, so let's get started. So first, let's just talk a little bit about what is open source software. So I think you already may have uh, some of you that open source software is basically like when the source code is available to public, where anyone, like any developer or user, anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance the code and change it to as per their needs. So you can basically change the code in parts, bits and pieces where you think it's needed, or you can add a new feature to the already available source code. So this is basically the concept of open source software. So in the screen you can see like there are some examples of open source versus proprietary softwares. So open source are basically Linux, Java, Blender, Firefox. These are some good examples on as opposed to proprietary like Mac, iOS, Skype, iTunes, Windows, etc. So why OSS or open source softwares are getting popular these days. So if you don't know, so open source softwares are right now getting very high popularity, and it has been like this for quite a few years. And there are multiple reasons. So even like big companies or big research labs are heavily inclined towards making their codes open source. So there is a very high demand of that, and why we can let's talk about a bit on that. So open source softwares, first of all, it gives you more control than proprietary softwares because you already know the code. So you can definitely, if you're like a developer, you can modify, rewrite, or extend some pieces of the code as per your requirements. So that gives you like more control and flexibility than any using a proprietary software. Next, it has like the collaborative feature. So because the source code is always there for public to see, so it can be easily shared, reviewed, studied, maintained, and improved. You can basically see other people's open source code and learn a lot from their code. You can do like study their code. You can study how one feature is done by some other developer, and you can rewrite some of it on your own project. So this kind of collaborative thing is very useful. Also, it uh, enables very fast development. Now, in open source code, there are like many developers who are like independently and willingly working to fix, update, and upgrade the software. So that's why it doesn't have to pass through like some authority in a sense, because you can always push your changes, and the maintainers with like it's up to the maintainer if they want to merge it or not. But still, it's very fast in terms of if you want to develop something in a proprietary software, because they have more regulations, more standards to follow. Also, it has more stability because it's like open source is already there for public. So there is very less chance of it to get disappear one day, or the end of support for open source software just stops because the developers don't want to continue. So it's very unlikely, as opposed to like proprietary softwares. If the company shuts down or the developers say they don't want to provide us support anymore, so the project is gone. So usually for long-term projects, open source software are a good deal for you. Also, the most important thing, I mean, no software or the platform is nothing if there is no community to use it. So a vibrant and active community is very important for any kind of software development. And in open source, it's very much visible than as compared to like proprietary softwares, because many people are interested in developing the code. They are investing their time and resources. So the community is usually more helpful and active. So they can basically, you can talk to the community who are basically part of producing, testing, promoting, and affecting the software. So these are some really good benefits over proprietary softwares. Now, why you should contribute to open source code? That's another important question. So first of all, I think I touched a little bit on this, that it drastically improves your coding skill. When you are working with other people, you first need to go through their code. You need to understand their code, talk to the developers in some cases. And when you are doing all these things, it basically drastically improves your coding skill. So from my personal experience, it improved my coding skill a lot when I started working with other people collaboratively. Also, it brings your recognition to the community. As I said, it's an active, vibrant community usually. So if you are performing well, if you're active in the community, people will immediately recognize you and they will come to you for with your questions. So it's very easy to get recognized in such communities. Also, when people come to you and talk to you, you create networking, and networking is really very important in your career, in your like, professional career, to move forward. When you have networking, you have better chances to get more opportunities. So from one open source, you can get opportunity to contribute in bigger open source projects, or like even like a job. The recruiter will be reaching out to you. So it has like networking opens more doors for you. Also, your profile stands out to the recruiters, as I said. Obviously, when you show your high skills in contribution, it just shows like your passion about some softwares, your passion about coding in general. So your profile just stands out to the recruiter. And some added bonus there is, so it will expose you to the real world project development and challenges. So when we are, let's say, coding for our a pet project or our academic projects, they're pretty different than what you will face or see in your real life projects, because the data is more dirty, the software has more challenges, more regulations, more edge cases to consider. So that's why the real world projects are really usually more challenging and difficult to handle. But when you're working on a real on an open source project, it's already they are used by uh, probably millions of customers, the project you're working on, right? So it will also expose you to what type of challenges and what type of things you should consider while working on a real world project. It also gives you the organizational management skills. So when you are working with a group of people, and most of them are like voluntarily working with you, so it needs you to organize and manage probably like a team. So it helps you to develop these skills as well, which are very important. Teamwork and collaborative programming. So teamwork and teamwork is very important when you are probably writing your CV, or the recruiters, they also ask like you should be able to work well in a team. So how do you prove them that you are a team player? Open source contribution is a great way to show them like, look, I've been very good at doing teamworks, coding with other people, building on top of other people's code. So that's a great way. And finally, I find it like really helpful is that it also grows your entrepreneurship abilities, because now you know how you can build like a project, like a full-fledged code. So you can now know if you want to like build your own startup, how you can what things you should consider. So basically, if you want to build a startup around a software you're developing, so this like experience you gather from your open source code will be very helpful. So I think it also helps a lot if you are, if you have interest to move in that direction. Now, I just want to talk about my experience, and uh, before that, I just want to mention like there is no like set path or recipe to go anywhere, to like follow any direction in your career. So what worked for me not necessarily will work for everyone, but I can definitely share with you what are the things that work really well for me. So probably if it helps you a little bit for your journey, that would be great. So I started with hackathons. So although this is like open source contribution, but I would like to also touch upon the things which are like proactively or voluntarily I have done, which are also like surrounded by some open source contribution, because all of them are open source, not for some proprietary software company. These are all like independent work, and these all helped me a lot during my career growth. So first, in 2018, I was doing my master's, and while in my master's, I participated in Thales AI Student Innovation Challenge. So it's basically Canada-wide AI competition for students. They basically present you an open-ended question related to AI, and using different AI techniques, you need to provide a solution and like a small prototype. So that was the challenge. So me and my team became the third winner of that. And as a result of it, and during the event, they collected some resumes from the finalists, and we made some networking. And based on that, I landed my first data scientist internship. So right after my graduation, I was able to like secure this internship in the same company who basically organized the hackathon. And after 3 months of internship, they offered me full-time data scientist, and then I joined as a full-time until now I'm working there. So as you see, like some people ask, like, are hackathons good for, like, are recruiters looking for hackathons to hire people? Well, in my case, it worked out. but I mean, not necessarily will work out for everyone, but you can definitely see like there are also examples where these things worked out. Next, I will talk about open source contribution. That's what I was coming into. So in open source contribution, most of the contributions are heavily related to OpenMind. So this is the first open source community I joined. First, I joined there as a writing team. So OpenMind is basically like an open source community where they're working on privacy preserving AI. So performing AI or data science on data which we cannot see. Basically, like how do you perform data science on private data, like your health data or finance data? These are very sensitive information, but without seeing the data or breaching the privacy, how actually you can apply AI techniques. So that's the whole mission of OpenMind. So I joined there in 2020 during the pandemic, when the pandemic started. So I started there as a writing team member. And as part of the writing team, wrote some blog in the OpenMind blog. They have very good set of blogs. And I also wrote a paper with some other great people in the community on PySift. So PySift is like the library, the homegrown library in OpenMind they're building for privacy preserving AI. So it got published in Springer Link, I think, few months back. Next, I moved on to the mentorship team. And in the mentorship team, we organized some beta boot camps for other students like students like you who wanted to learn about privacy preserving AI, who wanted to get started on this field. So we are in some boot camps, some mentorship programs. I was a part of it. Next, I joined the research team. Now, joining the research team has been really a great experience because I have been able to work on a lot of different interesting projects. One of them we presented during OpenMind Privacy Conference last year on private deep learning on medical data using federated learning and differential privacy. So these are like privacy preserving AI techniques. I mean, don't worry too much about the terms. Basically, these are just private AI techniques. And finally, I worked as a course instructor in OpenMind. So basically, OpenMind launched like a series of courses. One of them is called Foundations of Private Computation, where they cover all these privacy techniques like federated learning, deep learning, differential privacy, secure multi-party computation, etc. So I was one of the instructors there, where I like developed and instructed the federated learning course. So as you can see, like I started very small with writing team. I was just writing blogs, small little blogs, and gradually I moved on to the mentorship, research team, and instructor. So today I'm actually pretty active in the community, and I learned a lot. I like got to know really great people, and I think Archit also is a part of OpenMind. So yeah, I mean, it has helped me really helped me a lot in my career as a growth, and it enriched my resume a lot. So when recruiters reach out to me, they ask about these things like how did you join OpenMind, how it gets started, what are the things you have done. So it's like a good talking point for me as well. Next, public speaking. It's not necessarily related to open source, but why it's important and how it helped me. I just wanted to touch those parts. So when you're, and it's also related to open source in a sense that you want to market yourself. So for that, public speaking or presentation skill is a very good skill. So if you're a good developer, plus also a good presenter, it's like a killer combination. So you should definitely develop your presentation skills. So first, I was very afraid of doing public speaking or presentations during when I was, in my beginning days, when I was in undergrad, or when I was in masters, like the beginning of my master's days. So to overcome that fear, I attended the 3-minute thesis competition when I was doing my master's. So the 3-minute thesis competition is for masters or PhD students to present your whole thesis in 3 minutes to a variety of audiences. So there will be people from all sectors like journalists, layman people, people from psychology, business, etc. So there are like all different people, and you cannot use your technical words because they will not understand. So it was very, very challenging because we have been working on this some project probably like for 2 years, and you have to summarize everything in just 3 minutes with one static slide. So that's very challenging. However, to prepare for this type of presentation, you will know how much work you have done and how easily you can explain your topics to others, and it will also give you a lot of insight on your work as well, like where are the things I can improve on. So it was a great enlightening experience for me, and it went pretty well, I guess. And next, I started hosting some webinars. So I was part of some study groups from Udacity. So Udacity has some scholarship programs going on, I think, all through the year. So I participated in few of them, and part of the study group, I started hosting webinars. So the audience were like pretty small. So I thought, okay, because I have less chance of getting embarrassed. So I just started with smaller audience. I started hosting webinars, but that also like uh, helped gain my confidence and make myself better to present myself. I'm still learning, as you can see. Next, I spoke in different conferences. Some of them are part of Open Mind, presenting the research work in different places. Also, another one very recently I have done is like in Women Who Code conference. So it's like a global conference organized by Women Who Code. So there I talked about privacy preserving AI, and I gave this talk. So it was my, I think, almost first global platform, like where a lot of people were there. So it was pretty scary at the beginning, but yeah, so, but I attempted it, and I think it went well. Um, Speaking of that, why I'm talking about specifically Women Who Code speak conference talk is basically it helped me later on in my leadership uh, career. So in Women Who Code, this is like another open source organization. It specifically works with women and try to excel them in STEM. So basically it just wants to help women to or encourage them to come to STEM, STEM, that means like science and technology, and also give them like career support, technical support, different kind of trainings free of cost. So that's like a non-profit organization worldwide working. I started in 2020 there as a simple volunteer. I was basically doing nothing, just hanging there. Uh, Gradually, I moved on to like doing speaking because I think the recent talk I did. So I basically thought, okay, why not give it a shot? Let's be a speaker. So I just gave a talk. And as a consequence of that, I basically been able to be the leadership fellow right now. So I have been selected as a leadership fellow for the data science track. So they have like 6 tracks for like front end, cloud, back end, blockchain, etc. So I've joined the data science track. So as you can see, like when you start small, gradually you can move up to the ladder if you are consistent and persistent. So now the question is, that was my story, like how it helped me. But in general, if you want to, climb up your ladder and, go higher in your career, how can you start? So there are like few tips and which are I have seen other people been using, or I used it myself and like saw like how it actually impacts your career. So these are like basically from my own experience and understanding. So how you can start climbing, the question. So the thing is, just step in your foot in the first stair. So just start climbing. Don't think about, okay, I want to go to the top or I want to reach that floor. Just start climbing. Just keep your foot on that and you'll be good. So the first thing is like you should start small, as I've been saying a few times. that if you're trying to contribute to open source, first try with good first issues. So in GitHub, they basically like filter option, and they tag different issues at good first issues, documentation, bug fixing, this kind of filters they have. So usually if you filter it by good first issues, it will give you the issues which are like very easy to understand, or it will help you to just get started very quickly. So this type of issues are very good starting point for you to start your open source contribution. Another way is you just help with the documentation. Now you may think like, okay, documentation may not be like a very contributory, but it is, let me tell you, uh, because open source is what, like, it's collaborative programming, and you like your code will be taken up by some other developer and built on top of it. So if you don't have good documentation, it will be very difficult for others to understand your code. So documentation is as important as writing good clean code, especially if it's open source. So documentation is very important, so you can just start with there as well. And by using these things, you can actually get chance to connect with the developers, because you can take your questions to them, and they will be more willing to help you, because you are also trying to help them. So that's a good way to connect with the developers and like build some networking with them. Also join their community. These days we have like Slack, Discord, so almost all the communities, they have their Slack workspace or Discord workspace. So just join there and see what people are working on, how they are doing it. So it's a very good way of building your networking as well. So here is just another example how you can use different filters to filter out the issues. So in GitHub, if you go to the issues section here and filter it by, let's say, good first issues, you can see like it will show you here. It shows like good first issues, the priorities, medium. So probably for your first timers, you want something with low or medium priority, not like high priority, because you probably need some time to ramp up first. So that's how you can decide. So there are like documentation type, testing type, etc. So that's how you can pick like which will be easier for you to get started. Next is you want to step up your game a bit, and you want to involve yourself with different communities. So first, you can join any open source communities. I have joined OpenMind, for example. You can join any other communities. It doesn't have to be any specific, but just join yourself and join and involve yourself with the community activities. So what will happen? You can volunteer for those community activities. So these open source communities, they usually hold different events, meetups, workshops, various kind of things. You can volunteer your time, like little bit of time can take you a long way. So just volunteer there. You can, as been volunteering for some time, you now you understand the process, now you know some people, you can move on and you can host your own events. You just, now you are the speaker, so you can host your own events. Next, you can also form some study groups or project groups. In study groups, probably you can like set up a research paper reading club. So once a week or once a month, you sit with a new research paper. You try to understand what they are doing and try to re-implement the code. So that's like a agenda of study group. Also, you can create small project groups. So like 2 or 3 people together or 5 people together, you can build some projects as like your pet project, but because now you have a group, you have more accountability, more responsibility, and you will be more interested to finish the project. So just do that. Also, whenever possible, so I want to stress this enough, that whenever possible, just proactively offer help to current or future projects. So in the community, they mostly are run by volunteers. Because they're like open source, like most of the people are not paid. So it also, like, it means a lot for them as well. If someone wants to proactively offer help, they would be very happy, let me tell you this. So just proactively offer. If you see like there been announcement of, okay, we are going to launch this type of program, if you're interested, please reach out or something, just reach out. Don't wait for anyone to come to you or talk to you, just reach out to them, just DM them, like, listen, I'm interested, how can I get started? Most of the time they will be more than happy to, guide you in the right place. Also attend meetups. So they have, as I said, like different meetup or workshop events. Just show up there anyway, by like do whatever, just show your presence in the community. So in that case they will know, like, okay, this person exists. It helped for me as well. I was just proactively trying to help. So whenever I saw some announcement, I thought, okay, writing team was looking for some people who are good at paper writing. So I just thought, okay, I have some experience, let's just talk to them, let's just jump in. So I just DM'd, and then it started, and finally we published that paper. So just show your presence. That's it. Next, you can start hacking. So I'm very much fond of hackathons. So probably I just wanted to add this to my presentation anyways. So there are different like hackathons going on like very soon. Hacktoberfest is coming up like next month in October. So in Hacktoberfest, what happens is it's like a hackathon of open source contributions. So different organizations participate in Hacktoberfest, and they like list down their issues which they want to be solved or taken up by people like you. So you can just participate in Hacktoberfest and solve any issue. Like start your first contribution, probably just uh, push your changes, and if it gets merged, then you get some points. So it's like a great way of get started. I know many first time contributors who look up to Hacktoberfest to get started, because it's like a festive way of doing this. Also, there are other platforms where you will find a list of very good hackathons, and companies like Facebook, PyTorch, blockchain, Ethereum, they regularly post their hackathons, company specific hackathons in those platforms. And if you do well, who knows who notices you, right? So I would highly recommend check some of the hackathons in DevPost. Then we have Kaggle, we have Omedena, the Coda Lab. So they are like very good places to find like the latest cutting edge hackathons. There are some other occasional hackathons, and these are related to like what you are mostly interested in. So I have joined, like, I think still I'm very much active in joining hackathons. I love participating in during weekends, or if it's like a longer hackathon after work, I can spend some time. So I love it. I have participated in NASA Space Apps Challenge, IBM Qiskit Europe Hackathon. Then I have Qiskit is basically for quantum computing, their quantum computing library. Then IBM also have Quantum Excellence Challenge. I also participate in McGill Physics Hackathon. It's just like university specific, but these are all different kinds of hackathons. So probably in your university, look for what kind of hackathons they are organizing, or local city, or in your region, what type of hackathons are going on. Just pick one and attend. You will learn a lot. Now, let's say you have been contributing in open source, you have been doing well in hackathons. Now it's a time that you want people to know that what you have been doing, and what are the great things you have been working on, right? So you want to let the world know and share your knowledge and share your experience with other people without them asking. So you can start with writing blogs. So I think these days is like there are a lot of good places where you can just get started and get noticed, like Medium towards data science. So Medium is a very good platform where you can easily publish your first blog, or even better, just build your portfolio website. So using like WordPress, GitHub IO, or Google Sites. I have my own website, and it also helped me, sharing my blogs easily with other people, or the recruiter, or in the resume, I can just say, like, usually they have a placeholder for portfolio website or something like that. So I can just put my URL there. So it's a good way. So, and there are a lot of ways these days to build your website free of charge, totally free. So Google Sites is one, GitHub IO is another. So just it doesn't have to be something really fancy. It could be just your CV, uh, presented in a website so that anyone can see. Also present your projects in YouTube. So what I usually do is when probably after a hackathon, the solution we come up with, usually I try to write a blog out of it and also try to publish the solution to YouTube. So in that case, it helps me as well to keep track of my projects, what I have been working on, and also it helps to share with others. So if I want to talk to someone about my projects, I can directly also share my link. So it's very easy for them to understand as well. So just present it, let's just upload it in YouTube. That's the thing. Also, keep your LinkedIn profile updated. I think that's very important because recruiters very actively, uh, you know, uh, check LinkedIn profiles. They're always in the lookout for good candidates. So if you keep your LinkedIn profile updated, it's very easy to get noticed, let me tell you. So just always, whatever you are doing, try to make a post in LinkedIn or at least add it in your LinkedIn profile somewhere. Regularly update your GitHub. So try to make some contributions on regular basis than to contribute for a month and then disappear for a year. So I would rather say do small contributions, but be regular and consistent. So in your GitHub there is a contribution tab, so it shows how much contribution you have done. So it's better if it shows small contributions but throughout the year than just cluster of contributions and then nothing all throughout. um, Also, I think Twitter is very underrated medium, but it's very helpful. So if you follow the right people and unfollow the people who are not helping or not, I mean, you don't want to see posts related to those things, just unfollow and follow only the people you want to follow, you're really looking up to and you want to be like them one day. Just follow them. They in my Twitter I follow most of the people from either AI field or data science field or quantum computing, the things I'm interested in. So usually they share a lot of good information. There are some opportunities, people actually share job opportunities or gradually they're looking for students, like master students or PhD students, professors, faculties. They post just in Twitter. So that's very good way of getting the information before anyone else. Probably the information is not up in the website yet, but the professor is already tweeting about it, so it before 1,000 people. So Twitter is very useful if you know how to use it the right way. And you can also tweet your work. That's how you will get more networking. People will follow you, they want to know more about your work. So just tweet your work. So I think that was pretty much what I wanted to cover today. And I just wanted to say these are the things that worked for me, and the tips I shared with you is some of them I tried. I think most of them I tried by myself and I've seen the impact it made. And but also you may have a very unique trajectory and it probably will work out so well for you. Who knows, probably you can make another presentation like this based on your experience. That would be really interesting. So that's all. Now I think and also feel free to contact me for any questions. I'm always happy. I have done a lot of mentorships before to people who specifically want to. So I'm from data science, so probably my presentation was a little bit biased or heavily biased on that field, but I think most of them also applies to software development in general as well. So yeah, feel free to contact me. So I think Archit, it's over to you. If there are any questions or.
Yeah, so everyone, it's open for Q&A. So you can just post your question in the chat box so we can move ahead, or if you want, you can unmute and. Okay, so first question from my side is how do you like open mind? What are your views about it? Because everyone knows that whenever we are working somewhere, the work environment is something that is crucial to our development. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I think in open mind, why I have been sticking for so long is because of the community, because they really help people to grow there. So when I was in writing team, as example, I I was in touch with the writing team head, who is like Emma. So she really helped me, like not just with writing. She also helped me, like I was always showing interest. I think that's also another thing. I was showing interest, like what are the projects going on, how I can get more involved, etc. So she always guided me, like, okay, Zarreen, why not you talk to that person? That person is working on this interesting project. So I said, okay, let me just talk to that person. So I went to that person. I said, hey, Emma, directed me to you about this and talked like you are working on some cool stuff. I was just interested if I can help in any way. So most of the time they were like, sure, why not just join us? Like there, we have our next call in probably next week. Just join us there. So it was very easy and welcoming as a community. And that was like one side. On the other side, the projects itself, so the area they are working on is very niche, very new still. People are like, AI and data science is getting very popular these days, but the privacy aspect is actually kind of lagging behind. But they are very much, trying to push this and trying to solve problems for people, which really matters. So I think the mission also got me. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I
Like having talk with it and you is sometimes like quite motivating.
yeah, they're really passionate about it, what they are doing. So I think I could feel the passion. So I thought, okay, yeah, I can just work with them. Yeah.
Okay, so Vishal asked, like, in your case, which programming language helped you to contribute to most to the open source?
Yeah, so I think I mean, again, because I am from like the data science field more. So in data science, it's never like no other language is better than Python to get started. First of all, it's like one of the easiest languages. You can directly like start contributing without thinking of all different syntaxes, semantics. Second is it's very popular right now. So even not for data science, even for web development, like there is uh, Django, Node.js. So different web development techniques are also, like Python is also used for different web developments as well. So Python is definitely one. Next is Java. So I think Java is always there. It's been there for quite a long time. And if you are specifically into software development, Java is like one of your best shots, because in many big companies, still Java is like widely used for a variety of things. So you can never go wrong with Java. So Python and Java probably I would pick to get
But don't
started.
you think like Java is like quite verbose when it comes to code? Like
Yeah,
when we are coding in
yeah.
Python, it's like we are writing English, but in Java, it's
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, like, I mean, Python is probably like your first choice. Like for me, like Python would be like the first choice if I want to start today, like start my all again today. So probably I will start with Python. But I also would like to emphasize like the object orientation or object-oriented programming concept is easier to understand in Java than in Python, because Python is like more abstract, more
yeah.
high-level language. But when you are learning it on Java, you can easily see like what is the concept of class, what is the concept of functions, inheritance, polymorphism. These kind of concepts are, I think it was easier for me to understand when I was reading it in Java than to Python, because Python is already very user-friendly and would make it pretty abstract for you. So these are like pros and cons you can pick. Yeah.
Okay, so next question is, how should we start with Hacktoberfest? Like, what should be our initial step?
Yeah, so I think you can just search Hacktoberfest, and they have probably like a website, and they will show you like the participating organizations who are participating this year. So you can just I don't think you even have to register. Yeah, I don't think you have to register. You just go to the particular organization's GitHub, pick one of the issues, and just get started. So it's like a month-long event, so all through October. How many problems you solve, and also if you do well, they send you very cool swag stuff. So they give you very like good goodie bags and stuff. So that's also another incentive you can think of.
Yeah. The next question is, has writing blogs helped you in any way when it comes to career?
Yes, absolutely. Writing blogs is basically, as I said, first I started with writing blogs, and later using that experience, I pitched to the team who were writing on the paper. So I mentioned about one paper we worked on. That was like very beginning. So moving forward, also when I was working as a research scientist and with a research project, it helped to write the papers like for different workshops. There's like privacy preserving workshops, so we also present like have some papers. So it always helped to, first of all, it improved my writing skill a lot, like how to write, how to present your work. So let's say you have been working on some project for quite a long time. Now you want to pitch the project, you want to know, like show people what you have done. If you don't write it in a concise or understandable manner, people won't be interested. Then all of your hard work will be in vain if you cannot share it with people. So writing blog was definitely one of them. And different voluntary experiences. So let's say when I was applying for Women Who Code, I also told them, like, listen, because like this kind of leadership roles, they require you a lot of writing or like presenting your stuff, presenting your organization. So when I showed, like, these are like evidences you can show, like, listen, I know how to write papers, or I know how to write blogs. So these are all different things you can, which will actually empower your profile as a whole. So definitely go for it.
Yeah. So next question is, please give tips to build impressive portfolio.
Yeah. So for impressive portfolio, I think if you I mean, your portfolio is just the showcase of your work, the work you have been doing or your work you want to do. So probably just show your interest first, point out what your interests are, because your interest can be any field. I mean, even if it's software development, it can be like related to climate change or quantum computing, or who knows, like can be variety of different topics. So just show what you're passionate about, show your passion, whatever it is. Show if it's like programming, if it's like competitive programming, if you're participating in programming contests, just show that. So whatever you do, be it like small or big, doesn't matter, just put it in your portfolio. Try to put it in as a like concise format so that people find it easier to get a sense of. I mean, most of the people probably won't have time to go through each post you make in your blog, but if you like have like thumbnails or breadcrumb style of your things, so at least at first glance they will know, okay, this person has worked a lot in this field, or so just try to think of from from another person's point of view, like a daily person who just by chance bumped into your profile and he doesn't have much time, he just want to move on, but in that probably 5 to 6 seconds you want to give them the idea that, okay, these are the things you're passionate about. Probably just highlight your top 2 or 3 projects which you are really proud of. Just show them so that they know that, okay, this person is working on this. So yeah, I mean, I think, and visually, if you're talking about like how to visually make it nice and impressive, I think it just depends on your choice, your preference. Sometimes very simplistic, but I would prefer, like, rather than making it more clutter with lot of information, I would prefer like more simplistic design, because we are trying to show it to other people, so we don't want to confuse them or overwhelm them with more information. We just want to grab your attention. So I think simplistic design would be better.
Okay. So the next question is, should we start with small level hackathons before we begin with bigger ones?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to start small, like Hacktoberfest is one very good way, because you can just filter out good first issues or just documentation. That's like smallest contribution you can make. Definitely you can start. And if you want to specifically, do some machine learning type of hackathons, which are like beginner friendly, just go to Kaggle. So Kaggle has like also, when they post some, it doesn't have to be like a hackathon in general, but they have like different problems going on. Like they have this problems, they probably give you 3 months or 4 months. Over the period you will develop your program. So they also have tags like beginner friendly or medium difficulty, hard difficulty. So you can just filter out by that. And in Kaggle, another good thing is you can see other people's discussion, and you can see how other people are tackling one problem. So these are like different ways. So definitely I would just say like just get started. Even if it's like the smallest or easiest hackathon you can find, that's super fine. Just get started. Yeah.
So the next question is from Gurname. With the current trends in automation in code with OpenAI codex, do you think developer skills will be relevant? This technology is only to get better, so does it mean eventually we'll just have to express business logic and let automation take over of the rest?
I think that's a good question, and this question is in like going on for quite a lot these days because of Codex and OpenAI, this kind of thing. But I think I cannot say like it will never happen, but probably I would say like it still has time, like it has a lot of limitations. Like it's getting better and better, but I don't think it's still time for you to fear that your job will be taken over by some AI in terms of this kind of software development, creative stuff. Because I mean, these programs are really good at generating programs, but to a certain level, it has its very good limitations. So unless we don't see like AGI, like artificial general intelligence, which I don't think will be here for another, I don't know, a decade, who knows? But I don't think we need to fear about this. And that's why I think also it's very important to show your creativity, because this kind of AI solutions, what it really is bad at is showing creativity. Like, it can generate an art for you, generate a music for you, but is it meaningful, or is it like really makes sense to you? That's like another question. So if you know how to program, and also I think if you think about, some POCs. So in work, in real world, what happens is when some client comes to you with their requirements, first what you do, you just build a POC. POC is basically like a proof of concept. So you build a smaller prototype of the solution you want to provide before moving on to like a full-fledged development. So this type of POCs require a lot of research, a lot of brainstorming with other developers, a lot of market research, a lot of software research. They also have different limitations. So the customers, they will come with their own different requirements. So they don't want to deploy their software in cloud. They want to do it on the on-prem in their own infrastructure. So this type of and this is like one example, but there are like plenty of different requirements you will be abandoned with. So these things really need human reasoning and human experience.